Morning, Matt Dowd.
Good morning. Great to be here.
What would you have told the two candidates last night? What were your thoughts?
I thought Mike Pence did well for himself, and I thought Tim Kaine. I would have said you need to take a little less caffeine, but I thought his attacks on Donald Trump landed. So in the end, I think if you judge this debate not so much on the specifics for the two individuals, but did it help or change the trajectory of the race, it didn't, so it was a draw.
So what would you have coached Mike Pence to do? Because you can't really defend what Donald Trump has said. So what other option did he have was other than to deflect the question and answer the question he wanted asked?
Well, I think it's two things. It depends on what your goal is. Is your goal to make it better for Donald Trump, or is your goal to be perceived as the rational, calming influence in this? The secondary goal he accomplished. The first goal, I thought he could have been in a better systematic way, have sort of gone through and refuted quickly and then moved on to attacks on Hillary. I think he left too many attacks on Donald Trump just sitting there. It's a little bit like a running back who takes the ball and runs really well but never blocks for the quarterback.
Yeah, but also some of that was the moderator was forcing them to move on, and Kaine got the last word, moved on, and then he didn't sort of go back afterwards type of deal.
Well, I don't like to criticize moderators, especially one who this is actually the first time she's been in this type of game, at this level. I thought she didn't pause enough. I thought she too quickly had like a sheet of paper she wanted to move on. She should have taken the moment and allowed them to exchange more and allowed that conversation to go. I thought she cut it off way too many times and left it too short.
Do you think Donald Trump, in between his tweets last night, looked at this and said, maybe this is how I should act more Sunday night in St. Louis?
I don't know how you don't come away with that conclusion. I mean, if Donald Trump was able to have the same stylistic and tone that Mike Pence had and do that on Sunday, he would win the debate. It's not, the voters aren't necessarily looking for some broad spectrum of substance. They want to see Donald Trump's temperament and be able to say, okay, the guy can be a strong, calm leader. I don't know if he has the capacity to do it. We have not seen it in any stretch. We've seen it in very small moments. We've never seen it for an hour and a half.
You saw a great divide between Trump and Pence last night when Pence was able to articulate some type of foreign policy platform with Russia, and he was much more cogent with the facts and the policy than Donald Trump is.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, I think Mike Pence, whether you agree with his ideology on things, he's somebody that's inexperienced, and he understands policy, and he understands these things. The other thing you saw in that answer on Russia was that Mike Pence actually has a very different view of Vladimir Putin than Donald Trump. Donald Trump thinks Vladimir Putin is his buddy in many ways. Mike Pence knows he's a dictator and knows he's not the kind of guy that the world needs. So I thought there actually was a divergence there between Trump's perceptions and Pence's perceptions.
How much do you think Tim Kaine gets nicked or dinged for being just rude and interrupting Mike Pence all night long?
He gets dinged. I mean, for their own personal standpoint, Pence is helped by this. Kaine is hurt by this, and from their own personal standpoints moving forward. Though I think for Hillary supporters, they liked Kaine's attacks, and so I think for her partisans, they liked it. But for his long-term sort of perception of himself, it didn't help him.
The vice presidential debate, Matt Dowd, can only hurt, right? Or does last night help Donald Trump at all?
It doesn't. Vice presidential debates are usually at best pause buttons in where the race is. I think what happened was Donald Trump had been losing support for the last week, and now he's behind by 4 or 5 points. It sort of stabilizes at that point, which it probably was going to anyway. But it doesn't change that. It doesn't get him points back on the board, and I think that it was going to be hard to do anyway, but it wasn't helped by it. I think Donald Trump is the only person at this point in time that can come from behind, and he's going to have to do it through Sunday and the next debate after that.
I think Sarah Palin had the best comment on last night's debate. It was the only one in the last, 6 or 7 vice presidential debates where they were sitting down. She had to stand for 90 minutes in high heels.
I wish they would do more debates sitting down at a table, and I wish they would do more because it's, I think, much more calming, centered thing. And I also wish the camera would pull back more often and just focus on the table and not on the individuals.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is why he's the best in the business. Matt Dowd, thanks for checking in. We'll see you here in St. Louis.
Thanks. Sounds great, man.
Okay.
Thanks.
7:55 here, Big 550 KTRS. Last night, Nicole Wallace told some great stories on the lead up to the debate about her working with Sarah Palin and I guess that was the 2008 debate, and that was the famous one here in St. Louis where she said, "Can I call you Joe?" And afterwards, David Axelrod of the Obama administration comes up to Nicole Wallace and says, "Boy, that was a great strategy to have her come out and say, 'Can I call you Joe?'" And she says, that wasn't the plan. And it turns out that Sarah Palin kept on calling him in a debate prep Senator O'Biden. So they were like, stop calling him Senator O'Biden. So she took it upon herself to walk out and say, "Can I call you Joe?" He said, "Sure." So she'd have to say Senator O'Biden.
I would love to be in the room when they are actually prepping these candidates.
I agree.